Hey, boys and girls. Weather report for Friday, February 18th, 2022. And I'm losing my voice, so we're going to shoot it in the head. Can we? Can we? No? We'll stick around for a few minutes.
No, there will be no shooting it in the head until you fall over unconscious.
Gotcha.
So I've got that transcript on a Word document. Do you want me to email it to you?
Which one?
The Sal plus Casper or CRISPR.
Oh, I can grab it because you have it in the shitty format, right?
I do. Yeah.
Shitty format. Yeah. I'll go ahead and grab it. We'll just shut the screen off for a while. But I wanted to mention there was a guy over on Cell site called Dr. Joel Duff.
Yeah, he's made the rounds too. He's not just at Southside. I think he's a pretty well-known person among the atheist community.
Right. And he doesn't have that many subscribers, so everybody should subscribe to him. And he has a great site, and he is a Christian, and he is also a scientist. And he manages to, well, his site is about how the two things actually go together. And he has a great deal of humility about, misinterpreting the Bible or interpreting the Bible in such a way that it clashes with science, which is pretty cool. So what I've seen of him so far, I like, and I linked a video to misrepresenting soft tissue fossils, mediated design, and sloth migration. So he covers some of the creationist sites, and he does a really good job. So very much worth listening to. I like the man.
I got to check that out for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I reached out to him and asked him if he would come on and have a conversation with us. So I'm hoping he will. Anyway, so there's that. And then Scott has linked Plato's Timaeus and the biblical Genesis. You want to talk about that? Gmerkin?
Yeah. Russell Gmerkin he's kind of on the extremes of thought here, I believe, but it's good to read his stuff anyway, or at least listen to him on video. But he basically feels like the Septuagint, which means the Greek translation of the Old Testament or the Torah, was written much later than most people accept. And he sees influence from Greek thought. In other words, Plato, Aristotle, and that bunch, mostly Plato. And so he's talking in this link to digital gnosis, Nathan. It's digital informant. Neil Sindelak, I think is his name. And they're basically talking about his theory about that it was common at that stage in Greek history. And of course, Alexander the Great Hellenized whole regions into Greek culture. He's maintaining it was the thing to take older gods and older mythologies and take the laws that you want to implement and make it seem like Zeus has always said this, or Zeus has already wanted you to believe this, or some other god, like if you're from Moab or someplace like that in the Levant or whatever. So it's interesting theory, worth checking out. You can obtain copies of his works in various ways. You can either spend lots of money or find your own way to get his stuff, but it's just interesting. And he does point and cite certain discoveries by archaeologists and things, so that it's just not him totally making it up. He's just reading the evidence and seeing in it a much later compilation of all the material into the Hebrew
Old Testament? Okay.
into the Old Testament. Yeah.
So how much later?
Well, he's talking into the 300s,
Ooh.
whereas most Old Testament scholars have it a couple of centuries later.
You mean BC?
Earlier. The BC and CE timeline always gets confused. He thought most scholars think it's earlier. He thinks it's later. So
You mean 80? AD?
No, 300s BCE versus 570 something BC.
Okay.
After Alexander versus before Alexander.
Yeah. Okay, 6504. So I downloaded the transcript and translated it properly. Let's see here. 6504 is where, okay, Crispr was on Cell's channel last night. And then the night before, Cell was going on about his ALUs and the zDNA thing before. And we have a few clips from some of that we can play. But I'm trying to, what the hell, 64, 65. So 105. Okay. Anyway, I think I'm ready. I could be ready.
Let's do this thing.
Oh, you want to do it? So what should we do for? So I thought this was really telling. I thought this was really interesting. I have
real quick. We have a Jefferson Spatchcock in the audience. Did he get a link?
He has not got a link yet.
Yeah. How about Andrew? Maybe Andrew's out there too. So I don't know if you want to.
Andrew has a link.
Oh, does he? Okay.
He does.
Yeah. Sometimes he likes to stay in chat.
Yep.
What are we talking about here with LPP? Something.
What?
I don't know if we've covered all that or not. I don't know. They're mentioning little PP, so I don't know.
Oh, where? In the
Something
chat?
interesting. Yeah.
Okay, Lori.
Andrew,
Okay.
yeah.
Speed is checking the chat as the interaction I have with LPP at all recently. I've been away. Oh no, there was our interaction with Lil PP where Lil PP threw Andrew out.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think Andrew and I ought to concentrate on and pay a little bit of attention to, maybe over the weekend if I still have a voice tomorrow. So
Yeah.
Oh, we've got another Spatchcock person, similar genetics.
Well, they both get the link because I can't tell them apart.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good way.
I just can't tell the difference. It's just like talking to one person.
I know.
Yeah. Anyway, separate episode, Andrew. Yes, got it. Okay, I wonder. Let's see. Nerve torture, add, question, debate, and oh yeah, okay. I thought this was it kind of in the setup for the talk he had with Crispr, right? And what I notice about Cell when he talks to Dr. Dan or talks to Crispr or talks to Dr. Dapper Dino is that they will just bury him on one of his points, right? And as soon as they bury him, he says, oh, well, I disagree, but maybe we should move on. So he's constantly doing this. What is that? Sting like a butterfly or some fucking thing that fighter.
Like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Yeah, where he dances away from everything. And it seems like I'm seeing a lot of that with Saul Cordova. That when he gets completely buried like he did last night on junkDNA, he just chooses to just move away from whatever he's talking about. And Crispr buried him on ALUs too. And I'll link both shows in the description when I get a chance. Very unorganized today. I don't think I'm feeling all that well. So anyway, but I thought this was telling. Just listen to this. Now, do I have the sound turned up? No, I do not have the sound turned up. Okay.
Don't debate an evolutionist where he's strong. It's not that.
Okay, so it's a little bit before that, 106, 56, 106.
And yes, your ears did hear right. He said, "Do not debate an evolutionist where he's strong."
Right. So what
That's
he's
what came out
basically
of his mouth.
Is that
What
is
he-
that in science? Any other rational subject?
So what he's basically saying is do not talk to an expert about what the expert has expertise in, because he will bury you if you do that, right?
Sounds right.
That's duh.
Or maybe,
Okay.
talk to that person in the hopes that you can learn something from them. If you're engaging with them so that you can quote unquote own them,
Win.
you're not going to do that.
Yeah, you're not going to have a growed up conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I backed up a few minutes here. So
I encourage ID proponents and creationists to be very careful not to wander out of specialized fields. Don't debate an evolutionist where he's strong. It's not that we're trying to say that, that what they're arguing is not important. But you have to recognize you have a lot of things you can argue that they're not recognizing as important. For example, I would say eukaryotic evolution is way more important than this human chimp ancestry question. Because if you show that there's problems at that level of the tree, the phylogenetic tree, you cut the tree right at the base.
and that kind of explains why they gish gallop or move the goalposts.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So anyway, if they don't believe in common ancestry and you're having an argument with them about evolution and common ancestry, moving the goalposts back to eukaryotic development, right? The beginning of eukaryotes is not a honest method of arguing at all. But that's kind of what Cell keeps wanting to do, is move it around and not attack an expert where he lives, basically.
I just want to say it is honest if the goal of that particular person is to get more people to Jesus, because at that point, can you really? I mean, if it wins people over for Christ, I mean, how many? You can tell as many lies as necessary, right?
Right, but but if you're doing that, then you do what Rebecca does, and Rebecca comes right at us, like directly, with that basically trying to convert us from atheism to Christianity. Now, what Cell is doing is pretending he's coming at you
with science
from a standpoint of getting the truth about evolution, and then saying, "Oh, look, evolution can't happen, so obviously you have to become a Christian now." Right? That is deceitful. I think it's very deceitful. I don't know.
I remember way back time in the 80s when I was in college, I was a believer at that time. And so I would hang around the Baptist Student Union. And we watched some video about one of these cults because they loved to show anti-cult videos at that time. And I think it was the People's, what's the real name for the Moonies? Anybody remember?
Oh
no,
man,
I don't.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
But I think it was that group. They were criticizing for lying about things in order to get people to, and that if you tell a lie to get them into the kingdom, it was okay. And everybody was just all aghast about that. But you turn right around, and that's what they're doing with this creationism stuff. Bring them to Jesus, even if you're wrong. That's okay. Bring them to Jesus, and that's what it's all about. And it's just doing the same thing as the Moonies were doing back in the 80s.
Okay, the Moonies were an alternative rock band from England.
not that one.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's not the group I was.
I don't think
Unification Church.
That's it.
That's
yeah. Those are the guys. Okay, yeah, I had the wrong wiki. I hate when I wiki
when you bend
Let's
your
wiki on. Okay, I'm going to play a little. Now, this next part, I think this is where the question pops up. Is it playing?
So,
There. Yep. Now it is.
in my rant there. So Wesley Coleman asked, I have a question. Erica Gutsick-Gibbon talked with Dr. Gunter Beckley about how a large portion of mouse DNA can be chopped out of the mouse in the population unaffected. Do you have an explanation for this? Yes. Good question, Wesley. Another stupid evolutionary way of looking things. Retarded. Goodness.
He just hates being outdone by a woman.
He gets a
I think
little.
they'll get away with it because they just don't know.
I think that's the most worked up I've ever heard him.
Oh, he continues to do it here a little later on. Let's see, at 108. Yeah, he gets.
Okay.
He doesn't sound genuine at it, though.
The garbage that has come out of the evolutionary community because they don't think.
Yeah.
Okay, Dannikins, real quick.
Yeah,
Before we see his hair fly around again.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Does it seem more forced and less genuine than other people when they get angry, or am I missing something?
he actually seems angry. I don't know.
He is.
Like I listened to the whole thing, and if you listen to the whole rant, it goes on for about 10 minutes. He's really pissed about this.
Maybe he's just not used to getting angry like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's inexperienced at it. Maybe.
So anyway, what they're talking about is they've done gene knockouts on like mice and other organisms, and on mice they did an extensive gene knockout study where they knock out one gene and it doesn't have an effect. And I think they found some tremendous number, like 20% of the genes you could knock it out, and you still ended up with the same phenotype. You couldn't tell the difference, right? Now,
I don't know why that was so funny to me. He's just not used to that. I was just thinking, he'll get better at the anger thing the longer he goes on. Sorry, I just found that funny. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so anyway, but then this researcher, I think Andrews, I think her name was, but she did multiple knockout experiments, and it turns out that oftentimes when you knock out one gene and then you knock out another gene that's involved in the same pathway, you'll end up killing the organism if you knock both of them out. But if you knock one or the other out, it won't have an effect. And what she showed is that there's a lot of redundancy in the genome, and that there are multiple biochemical pathways for a lot of different things, right? Which is exactly what we would expect from evolution, and especially from neutral theory in evolution, that there would be multiple pathways. And sometimes there are some people on our side of the fence that have used this as an argument for junk DNA. But it isn't a very good argument for junk DNA, and it apparently gets Cell really upset. But what it does tell you is just more about evolution and how it works. There are all these different pathways in this network, and eventually, one of them will connect up with another one, and you'll end up with three pathways that create the same, biochemical product. And if you knock out two of them, it doesn't matter. But if you knock out all three, it'll kill the guy, kill you, whatever. So this is exactly what we would expect with a whole bunch of junk drawer DNA, which is something Crispr talked about last night. Crispr did an excellent job on Cell's channel. And every time he crushed Cell just moved on. It was
when
good.
we shoot this in the head, I'm going to go back and watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Whose channel? Where's that at? Where was that located at?
It's in my description. The
Cell's
Crispr.
channel.
Down there. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That's Cell's
Yeah,
channel.
I linked both this video from the night before where he was preparing for CRISPR, and then the video with CRISPR, and it's all pretty good. Really is worth listening to.
If he was preparing for CRISPR, then there's got to be some sort of after show or maybe some room he hung out in afterwards where he said what he really wanted to say, but not with CRISPR present.
Where his true feelings come out.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bad mouthing CRISPR, saying CRISPR's an idiot. He's a jackass. Those kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
Or I
CRISPR
wish
did
he
a
covered this more, but he never asked the question to him or something.
Yeah.
Because this isn't a situation where the guest is covering something. It's where he's being interviewed, and if he wanted something covered, he would have asked.
Right. So let's see, was that at 110? Was that at 105? I think it was at 105. I don't know. We'll see. Let me see where I am here. Anyway, so
do you want to bring Dr. Jason Torn in with us?
I sent him a link.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
Okay. I sent him
Hey,
a link.
Dr. Jason Torn, how are you?
So anyway, it's a difficult conversation, and it took them they had a 2.5 hour conversation, and it's illuminating. But there are these different classifications like junk DNA, functional DNA, non-functional DNA, conserved DNA, non-conserved DNA. And all of these different classifications overlap and break down at some level. But CRISPR did a really good job, and I might play it if you guys will let me play it, where he talks about junk drawers, and how DNA it's junk, but it's not garbage. And it was really kind of a good exposition. And they tear it apart in a number of different ways. It really is worth listening to if you want to understand what the whole. Also, CRISPR does a really good explanation of the historical thing about DNA. Like when we first got the genome, like when I was a teenager, I thought all DNA should be functional, right? Like this strand of DNA, all of it is going to do something in my body. And then when they went ahead and they started poking around, they found out that, holy shit, there's only about 10, 20,000 genes. And we expected there to be, a couple 100,000 with the size of the genome. So the biologists were just shocked by this, that there was all of this DNA that was not creating proteins. So they came up with the idea of junk DNA. Like, why is it so much junk? And it was sort of a disappointment and a shock, I think, at first.
Well,
and
it's better to have the space and not need it than to need it, not have it.
Yeah, but
sorry.
But it turns out that through the course of evolution, I think CRISPR used the analogy that we have all this stuff in the junk drawer. It gets banged up, and some of it gets worn out a little bit. He was talking about something else, but that's kind of a good way to look at evolutionary genomes over a course of 300 million years. They get banged around and viruses attack them, and they get cut and copied and pasted and turned into, but it still works because it has to work. Otherwise the organism would die. And that's what natural selection does. Natural selection just keeps a line that works.
I just want to say, when you were naming off the different kinds of DNA and such, I had visions of Bubba on Forrest Gump naming off the different kinds of shrimp.
Or chocolates.
Or chocolates.
Yeah. No, it's the shrimp. There was no.
It's the shrimp.
It was shrimp.
Pineapple.
Yeah.
Pineapple shrimp, popcorn shrimp.
Yeah. That's
shrimp scampi.
I wanted you to keep on going just so I could see if you would devolve into that.
And see if he starts talking about shrimp.
Wasn't that like a 3-hour movie?
2.5.
Yeah, it was long.
I tried fitting it into my 20-minute attention span a couple of times. So sometimes it just don't fit.
Oh, we need to get CRISPR on here. We have a CRISPR sighting.
CRISPR sighting. Oh, we're talking about you, CRISPR. You are the subject.
Yeah, we need to get you in here, buddy.
You are the subject.
I like the idea of like not just, maybe not even just junk drawer genes, but like spare genes. So like, oh, you lost that gene. Well, okay, so your body switches to the alternative gene. It's like now your body has a 10% better chance at surviving the cold. Yeah, you're also cross-eyed.
Yeah, but I was really looking forward to wearing the stonewash jeans as compared to my blue jeans.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. There's spare genes. There are genes that just ended up getting scuffed up to the point where they're unusable. They were copied and they got scuffed up. And then there's DNA that just links one strand to the other, so that basically you have to have that long rope between things in order to make it all work. And the thing is that as many, I mean, you could come up with 1,000 different classifications for DNA, and somebody will discover 1,001 as soon as you do. And the more we look, the more twisted and turned this whole thing becomes, you know, to where you can't say, oh, it's junk, or oh, it's functional. You shouldn't talk like that. And I don't know, yet we still do. But there's a lot of it that you could just call junk, not garbage, but junk, right?
Yeah, or maybe there's that stuff that, you know, it's part of something else you were doing, like an older lawnmower, and you just keep the part because you just feel like you're going to need it someday, but you never again need it because you have nothing that it works with.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll shut up now.
Let's see if I got the right part here. I think it's worth listening to.
That scratch paper gets torn up a bit over time, right?
Exactly.
Cards gets worn out. Even that scratch paper gets torn up.
I'm too early.
Do you have a junk drawer?
Here we go.
I have misspoken here, but I'm pretty sure that I did not actually say that that conservation is evidence of function, and that lack of conservation is evidence of non-function specifically.
Okay, if I did, I apologize.
Lack of conservation is evidence that it's junk DNA, but junk DNA is not synonymous with non-functional, right? Because again, I don't know. Do you have a junk drawer?
Here it is.
In your house? I have a junk drawer in my house. Do you have a junk drawer?
A lot of my drawers are junk, I'm sorry to say.
Okay, now is any of it garbage? Do you have?
I do have junk bins. Okay.
Do you have a desk drawer that you've got like banana peel stuffed into? I hope not.
No,
I hope
I know where you're going. I do have boxes where
The fruit flies would be
I'll
insane.
put stuff in there. I'm not immediately using it.
right.
I
And
might
so-
have use for it. Okay.
Right, and so like you know, like we all have this. We all have this. We have a drawer, and you know, there's probably a deck of cards.
Just when I cleaned out my wife's vehicle.
Age as me or older. There's probably a deck of cards in there. There's probably some random like scratch paper or some pencils and all this other stuff, and it's in there. It stays in there for a long time. And every time somebody goes in that drawer and they reach around and they dig around and they're trying to find something, it's not the best for the stuff that's in there. That scratch paper gets torn up a bit over time, right? Deck of cards gets worn out, even though it's never used. All of this stuff happens. And eventually you look at it and you go, okay, this is now trash. Into the trash it goes, right? But if you're only checking every 10 years, you know,
All right, shut the light off when you're done
before
going. Right.
you notice. And so hopefully I've made this analogy fairly well to the idea of
I think he did. So that kind of a cool way to think about it.
Shouldn't they just not call it junk DNA? That's like a really bad word, isn't it? To call it junk DNA.
Well, when you
I would
think
say
about it,
don't call it a junk drawer either.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to rename it.
yeah, I mean, what are you going to call it? It's a junk drawer. It's got a lot of stuff in there
Yeah.
that I'm going to use someday.
Dog need to go outside.
Like for instance, if you know, I mean, I'm constantly going to my junk drawer and finding shit to use to shore something up, or you know, prop up an insect or do something like that. I mean, it's useful at some point. And that's how evolution works.
It's your packet drawer. You know, you got those packets of soy sauce and duck sauce and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Ketchup
that
and
one.
stuff. Yeah, from takeout and from fast food. Yeah.
Yeah.
I seem to remember at some point somebody telling me that junk DNA is sometimes referred to as jumping DNA. Have you ever heard of that, Speed? Like it's like
Oh
it's kind
no,
of
they're talking about transposons.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah. And Cell has got this paper where he believes it absolutely proves that transposons are 100% functional. And CRISPR just nails him to the wall here because he shows them a 2019 paper from the same author where he shows that only 15% at the very possible maximum could possibly be to do this function that Cell is talking about. So anyway, the author himself knows that only 15% of the 1.1 million ALUs could possibly even enter into this pathway, right? And Cell was kind of nonplussed by that. And I think he decided to move on at that point. I'm not sure if Cell ever quite understood what CRISPR was telling him, but anyway, yeah, junk isn't trash. So don't piss CRISPR off.
So
say junk, respect the junk.
So is
I'll take it easy on my. I'll stop yelling at my wife for all of her.
Okay. What do you say? Okay, Top Dog.
Sorry, Tom.
The same meaning for junk DNA would be scrap. If we call it scrap, it would be
well, you know,
the same.
Just don't even fucking use words on DNA until you know.
I mean,
what
like
they
scrap paper.
When I hear the word junk in this
We use
context,
scrap
I think of Leave It to Beaver, where the beaver would say junk all the time. It doesn't mean trash. It's just junk.
It means superfluous stuff.
Yeah,
it's
stuff.
Stuff. Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. And some of the stuff is good and some of the stuff kills you.
Yeah, in your junk drawer, you've got stuff that you don't know if it could be useful at a later time, or it could be that you're just not aware of it. Seems like it's a good analogy for junk DNA is that we may not have an understanding of it, a full grasp of its functionality, but we know it's not functional with regards to reproductive mechanisms, but it could have other functionality that we're not aware of, but is very complicated and adds value to processes. So it's kind of a lame word, I think. Junk DNA.
Yeah, if you really want to throw him off, say, "Oh, I don't just have a junk drawer. My wife and I have junk totes of junk."
Yeah, junk totes. I have a garage full of junk totes.
I got a garage
or the shed. That's
Yeah.
the step up. You go from the totes to the shed.
Yeah.
About every 5 years, I have my friend clean out my garage, and I've got this tray of screws, nuts, and bolts that I've had since 1979, and it weighs about 500 pounds, and I won't let him throw that fucker away.
Don't.
Because goddamn it.
Exactly.
Don't.
But every
Sooner or
time
later, you're going to reach in there and you'll find something that fits that thing you've got to bolt down.
I have all kinds of cables and stuff like that I use.
That's when you
Oh,
get
yeah.
My wife
I
used
never
to
throw
throw
away
that
a
shit
cable.
As soon as I do, I have to go out and buy a $30 cable.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait, Speed, is this a bag that you could have embroidered?
A what?
You said that this is screws and stuff. It's in a bag.
No, it's in a huge tote, plastic tote bin that weighs.
Plastic. Yeah, put a
200
label.
pounds.
Yeah, put a label on it and just says something about like tote of tetanus right on it.
That's what it is. Because every time I need a particular screw or bolt, I will go through that son of a bitch, and all I accomplish is I end up poking myself with pins and cutting my hand. Tote of tetanus.
Hey, that junk drawer can actually turn you into like a miracle worker, or because sometimes you could be in a situation where you need something breaks, or you're missing a part. You get a delivery. Let's say you get a delivery of something new. Whatever, a refrigerator.
Yeah.
And there's a part missing, and all of a sudden you go into that junk drawer and you save that part from something else, and you turn into a miracle worker and fix that part. So
16 wounds later in here.
Right? Yeah. And my line of work, what I do, that has happened thousands of times. I can say for sure that, saving that kind of stuff and having it available to fix something later on, even things that break, like, something will break and you can just Mickey Mouse it together with something out of your junk drawer, basically.
Well, my experience with this, my experience is I can solve any problem, having to do with nuts and bolts. It only takes me like 3.5 hours. It's 3 hours of looking through that junk drawer and a half an hour to run to Home Depot to buy the fucking thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep. That's true too. Yep. That's happened. Yep.
That's why.
Happens all the time. I don't know. Hey, Crispr here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was.
Do we need to test your microphone?
Probably not a bad idea, but it looks like
Yeah.
it's lighting up.
Okay, cool. Very good.
I was very happy with your conversation with Sal last night. So
I thought it went pretty well.
it went really well. I think you pretty much nipped most of the things in the bud. I don't know. He didn't see it that way, but I did.
Well,
But-
I mean, the goal of the conversation was not to be contentious, right? I mean,
Right, of course.
he wanted it. My impression is that he wanted to get a feel for what the mainstream understanding of these things happened to be, so that on the areas where he was wrong and didn't realize it, he could go and give it a think, and maybe he would change his position, or maybe he wouldn't. And so he needed a lot of information on those things so that he could process it and adapt it into his thinking. And
Well,
on those
young
issues
man-
where he already knew he disagreed with mainstream, there was no point in talking about it because, he didn't agree. So why bother?
Yeah. Well, I think you were
Why didn't he just
bamboozled.
look it up?
If that's what you thought he was doing, you got taken. You got took, man. Because what he was doing is creating better arguments, basically. And
Oh yeah,
looking.
well,
that was-
I
yeah.
want him to have. I want him
was-
to have better arguments.
That was
Well,
my
right?
thought exactly.
Because-
Yeah.
Okay, but
The
but-
current arguments from creationists are terrible.
I know.
I want them to have better arguments. The current ones are boring.
Agreed.
Yeah. There's two ways to get a.
Because this is boring me. Trifling ass bitches, creationists.
Yeah, there are two ways to get a better argument, and one is to find a workaround, and the other one is to look for the truth. It isn't about fucking arguing or fucking winning. It's about looking for what is the truth. I think. I don't know. I mean,
If you
what
want-
works and what doesn't work.
And if you want
Well-
pure boredom, just contact Otangelo. Let's talk
Well,
about creationism, Otangelo. Make sure you keep that gun loaded next to you.
Let's be honest, right? A lot of people have a really bad understanding of what junk DNA is supposed to be, right? And
Oh yeah, that's true.
because they don't understand what it's supposed to be, they don't understand what would constitute an argument against it.
Yeah,
And that's what, and not just, look, it's not just the creationists. There are mainstream scientists who don't get the point, right? They do not get the point of junk DNA. And they'll find, oh, well, this non-coding DNA is doing something. I guess junk DNA is nonsense after all.
yeah.
No, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
I appreciated your junk drawer talk and analogy. That was pretty good. And I liked the part where you brought out the table that Herbert did on 15%. That was good. I found that paper, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, I had it somewhere. I just didn't have it to hand immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah, that, you look at that table and that really illustrates the point that I'm trying to make with all of this, which is that so here's one thing the only thing that I wanted to push back on that he sort of cut off the conversation. I was like, I really should push this, but I decided against it because we'll talk again later at some point. Is when I made the point that you can say with mathematical certainty that the harder it is to detect a function, the less important that function is. Right. That is just a fact. It's a statement of fact. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Right. And so
That was
like when he
another
was like,
really
well, I
good
don't
one.
agree with that. Like,
Yeah.
you should agree with that.
So let me,
It's like I
so
can
let me see
show
if I
that
can-
mathematically.
so Crispr, so to see if I can steelman your analogy by using another analogy, like I've got a junk drawer and I've got a lot of lighters, a lot of cigarette lighters. Now they're all usable lighters and they're sitting in that junk drawer, but they're not being used.
Some
So-
of them might be empty.
Yeah, well, none of them actually are empty, but some of
Are
them
you
could
sure?
be empty.
They
Yeah,
could be. They could be.
but could be. So either way, those are there, but that doesn't mean that they're trash. They're not being used, correct?
Right.
And some of them
course,
could be empty, They're just sitting there.
And of course,
Just-
you know, you could throw some of them away and it wouldn't hurt you any, right?
Yeah.
And also, you know, one analogy that I've thought about before is that you can imagine a piece of otherwise junk DNA that becomes vitally functional. And how does that make sense? Well, imagine you want to build a house of cards, right? And you realize your table is unsteady. And so you take out a old notepad and you jam it under one of the legs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you build your house of cards. What happens if you pull that notepad out?
Your house card go tumbling.
Yeah, but it was junk. You could have used anything to jam into under that leg. You could have used one of your lighters, possibly, depending on how short that leg was. But you know, you used what you had access to, and now it's built into the system.
The other place where you really knocked it out of the park was when you were talking about the null hypothesis. You know, that it's not functional.
This is such an important thing. I really hope I got that across to his audience.
It was really good, but I don't think they understood.
Because so often they get offended. They get offended by the fact that, well, why are you assuming that it's not functional? You know, it's not that I'm assuming that it's not functional. It's that if I approach this question as though it were functional, I can never get an answer that I can use.
Yeah, and that was really good.
I am prohibited by the philosophy of science from actually reaching a useful conclusion if I start with the assumption that it's functional.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was really good. So anyway. Oh, Canadian Catholic. So stupid whore energy was talking, or let's see, in chat on Canadian Catholic. I think so. Anyway, we'll have to go check that out. I will link that in the description too. Anyway.
What was
super whore. Okay. No one here is giving her credit. And
Yeah, this is I was going to say the same thing that she said, which is that Canadian Catholic had Behe on his channel and Dr. Dan came on there. And near the end of the video, Dr. Dan was just like, I thought, facing Behe. Like he went through the whole thing. Like, look, why is it that like other scientists aren't validating these positions? And it's been around, like this aspect of intelligent design's been around for 30 years. How come nobody's like really, I thought Dr. Dan did a great job of like pressing Behe on that. He didn't really have an answer for it.
So it's right here.
Yeah, it's that one.
Anyway, check that out. That is in the description.
Wow. Canadian Catholic looked exactly what I would have thought he looked like.
A goon.
He puts too much of his face in front of the camera. He needs to like remove all those shelves if they're even there, you know, if they're not and just stay about 3 more feet away from the camera.
He irritates the shit out of me, man.
He looks like he regularly wears a trilby that he thinks is a fedora.
He brings that. One thing that annoys me about that guy, if I can just say, is that he gets online, like he's got some mental issues. I don't know, but like he goes online and he just like blurts whatever out of his mouth. He'll say it. He'll be like, "Hey," so he's obsessed with how tall people are. He's like, "How tall are you?" So how tall are you? Or like he'll say something really rude and he'll be like, I really think you're an asshole. Does that offend you? And that person's like, go ahead.
Jason, that's his version of doing the Darth. How old are you?
I mean, what if I went to him and said, Canadian, how heavy are you? I mean, you look like you really gained some weight there, dude. Like,
what's your cholesterol? What's your cholesterol count right now?
I mean, that would be rude of me to say that. I wouldn't say it, but he says shit like that all the time. So
high enough that you could fry eggs in his blood.
That's pretty good. I have to remember that one. That's good. I honestly don't know how he gets these people on his channel. Like he gets some really
Um,
good people to talk. He must write some email that's like,
He-
I'm a fledgling student. Please talk
By the-
to me.
Yes, he does.
By the way,
he
you notice
begs.
you notice how I didn't say anything like that in the entire conversation with Sal? I can control myself.
You didn't say if you didn't say anything like that, then I'm not going to watch that. No, I'm sorry.
I thought we were having a competition right now about which Spatchcock brother was going to get a hernia first from laughing.
We just turn in to listen to people be cruel to one another. That's what we get off on.
Yep.
I've given up on all constructive criticism and any kind of real meaningful conversations in life. It's just about the show, people.
He just leans back with his tongue out. Yeah, you're fat. You're fat and ugly. Come at me. Sorry.
All right. Do we have a topic?
Nope. I don't have a voice, so
I was gonna say to the point made before, like how does Canadian I saw a little bit of like the back and forth because I think Canadian Catholic had Noam Chomsky on, and he did a lot of wheedling and begging and whining and flattering, and yeah, it's I mean, watching seeing some of the exchanges that he's had with some of these guys to get them on there, it's exhausting. Like I gotta hand it to him. I wouldn't be able to do it.
he talked to Chomsky. Holy shit.
Yeah. Hard to believe.
I think that was over a year ago.
I mean, I feel like he goes after these people that just like have no idea. Not only do they have no idea about him, they have no idea about YouTube or anything like that. They're just like, oh, okay, I'll talk to you.
I feel like Chomsky, for the most part, now, I mean, especially during the pandemic and everything, I think he's he was kind of housebound before. He's not like he's not a nightlife kind of person. If people reach out to him and he has time, he'll do it unless he's bored with it. Like if it's a topic that, from what I understand, if he's not at all interested in the topic or he thinks it's completely irrelevant, he won't bother with it. But
So Nesslig wrote a piece on Otangelo on Peaceful Science Forum. I'll try to put that in the description too.
Let's get a link to Nesslig. Or does
Wait a minute, the link doesn't seem to. Oh, there it is. Okay, I got it.
We should get some. We should put together a fund so that we can set up a situation where Nesslig gets to run experiments on Otangelo.
Oh yes, there you go.
yeah,
it's for science.
I know if he's really designed well. Test his design.
That doesn't seem very ethical.
So where's he turning up these days?
Where is he still allowed? That's the question.
I thought I saw him on Smokey Saint's channel.
Oh my!
Really? Because he sure wrote a lot of shit about Smokey Saint.
He will not go there.
Okay, maybe it was Will Kincaid.
Yeah,
that's still not any better.
Okay, I saw him someplace like that.
That makes sense.
He doesn't. Well, I haven't done a lot of content in a while, so it's like, I don't.
Yeah.
But then again, most of my mods were removed before you had a chance to
Hey, Speed, before we get too far off the subject, we're still talking about Sal. Have you listened to his introduction when he starts a live stream and he talks about his channel and he goes on for the purpose of his channel, and he says we like to talk to graduate students and researchers and things like that. And it's the way he says it. It's like, is he trying to recruit people
on Sal's channel?
Yeah, when he introduces himself, when he starts a live stream, he'll say, this is Answers in what's his name of this channel? Answers in Reason or whatever.
Evidence and Reason.
Yeah, Evidence and Reason, and we like to talk about evidence of the Christian faith. And then he goes on to say we like to talk to graduate students and scholars and researchers. And it's the way he says it. It's like he's trying to recruit young kids in college, maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So
that is his stated purpose, is to reach out to. He thinks that most kids in biology classes in college are creationists.
Yeah.
It kind of seems like that, and he wants to help them navigate
Yeah.
the horrible, pokey
Yeah.
evolutionary thinking field,
Right.
that sort of
Well, I
thing.
mean, I think that the concern is that the science of evolution is extremely convincing, right? And if they get thrown in there without having already seen this evidence, they're not going to be young Earth creationists anymore. And I
Right.
think that's a valid concern for him to have.
It is.
Yeah,
You know-
they cannot address this through peer review. Like Dr. Dan was going over this with Behe. He's like, how come like you're not publishing papers? Like Behe or Dr. Dan started by saying, why? Like, what's your goal here? Is your goal to convince scientists that intelligent design is dominant and evolutionary theory is not true? Because if that's the case, you guys should be publishing in peer-reviewed papers. Why aren't you doing that? And same thing with Sal. It's like Sal and those guys and Sanford and all those guys, they can't publish any papers on this because they would say they get declined because there's a bias, but their shit sucks. They can't get it published. So the only way to do it is to do what Sal does, which is try to like woo students over through YouTube videos, etc.
So Crispr, last night you mentioned, I think you brought up that you were in some class, and at the beginning of the class, somebody stood up and felt necessary to say that they were a Christian.
Oh yes, when I took ecology and evolution.
Yeah, and that is, and the feeling I would have is, why in the hell are you saying that?
That's what we all thought.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, Sal is addressing in every class. There's one of these suckers that has to tell everybody, like who was it that was on Praise's channel, that girl that Smokey went after real heavily. God, I forget what her Shadow Dancer. Okay, she's the kind of person that goes to class and stands up and fights with the professor and picks fights with transgender people there and everybody else.
Conservative? Are you talking about conservative Christian?
No, she went by the name of Shadow Dancer. And she was
that might be. Yeah, I think she's also. I think that's Jessie. I think that's Jessie.
Yeah.
I think, but don't quote me on that. I think that's Jessie.
She might have changed her name, and she had a channel for a while where she was talking about the pyramids.
Yeah,
and
she was in the military. The girl, she was in the military for a while.
Right.
Heavy drinker. She'd be on the channels, pretty drunk.
Yeah. And Smokey and her
I love
got
that
into
shit.
The dust up that her and Smokey got into was just excellent, and that was like a year. How long have I been doing this? It was about a year and a half ago. It was pretty cool. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. Oh shit, I hit the wrong button.
I don't know that I ever watched that, but that sounds familiar. I think I must.
Oh, the dust up was great. She was. Oh God, Smokey was he ended up calling her all these names, and then he did an after show on it, and she came on to the after show, and he told her that basically women have no place talking to elders in the church and all this shit. It was just.
Was her handle at some point Church of Empathy?
Yeah,
I think that
was it.
Okay, yeah, that goes quite a while.
I think that's conservative. That's Jessie. Yeah, that's definitely her. I've had her on my channel. We've had some. She tried to make an argument for God based on intuition.
Oh my God! She also makes this crazy argument about the Egyptians and the pyramids and aliens, and I don't know what the fuck she was talking about, but it's really worth checking out. But she hadn't been around lately, so not topical.
Well, she used to frequent Praise's channel quite a bit. And then she got ostracized from there, and it kind of went back and forth. And then when Praise was like, "Oh, Smokey's the coolest," then she was like, "Praise, you traitor!" And then everything just kind of fell apart. And everybody was like, "Oh my God, everything's just going to shit."
That's what happens when Smokey shows up.
Yeah, but Smokey really showed his sexist colors when he was dealing with her, and there were some backstage conversations that made it clear.
Well, he gets like that because he knows that according to the biblical worldview, he's supposed to be attracted to her, but he's not. He just can't bring himself to face that. She's not his type.
Yep. Anyway,
I hope he didn't hear that.
I hope he did. There's nothing wrong with what I'm saying. The thing that makes it wrong is that he's a fucking liar. So he's lying to himself, and he's using all that self-loathing to peddle a bullshit, grifting, half-assed YouTube ministry to whip up a bunch of radicalized morons to believe in his bitch-ass God.
Yeah.
He's not a real God. It's not even like the God of the Bible. It's just a bitch-ass one.
So, CRISPR, before we leave that topic, do you think we should use the phrase junk DNA at all?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You like it. You're with it. Okay.
What's wrong with it? It's a perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, most of it's junk. What do you want? What do you want from me?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not even sure if we should be saying that some DNA is functional. I don't know.
Well, I mean, so here's the thing. It's a continuum, right? Everything is a continuum. Biology is complicated, and you can say that, like if I insert in the middle of nowhere in the genome, if I insert a single base pair, right, that it functions by delaying the replication rate of that organism by some incredibly small percentage, right? Because it has to replicate one more base pair, right?
Right.
And you call that a function if you wanted. Who cares?
Yeah.
No one cares, right? No one cares about that. If I replace, there are some nucleotides that are slightly more metabolically expensive to manufacture. It's like, if I replace it with more of those, is that a function? Or fewer of those, is that a function? It could be. In bacteria, that might actually matter. Or you talk about codon bias, that actually matters in bacteria. Is it functional? I guess, right? But like a lot of this, whatever function it has, if you can call it a function in the first place, is so minuscule, is so trivially irrelevant that we can't detect it.
Right.
So who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
I think Dr. Dan called it. He uses the phrase undocumented function, or it's never been documented what the thing does. So yeah, that clarifies it for me as well. It's not an absolute. This thing does nothing. It's like this particular.
I got a box of old chargers and stuff, several feet from me. Right, that's junk. Okay, they work. I may have something that uses one of them in the future. I don't know, right?
Maybe.
I may, and believe me, I've done this before. I may cut the end off of it so I can use it to power some random thing I'm trying to make. Could happen, right?
Yeah.
There's still junk. It's still junk.
Yeah. Well, I guess the only pushback I'd have on
you're going to go someplace weirder and say, see that long cord? I use that for my personal time, but we're not going to get into the specifics of that. But still, there's that cord, right?
Yeah.
Sounds
the
like
pushback I would
what
have
are you thinking of? Do we need to take the fishing line away from you, man?
Yeah.
No, I prefer something with a nice braid.
It'll tie itself into a knot if you push it too far. So you
I was referencing Super Troopers when he's.
I wasn't.
No.
Okay. I lost my point.
What was your point? I thought the point was already made.
Basically it has to do with systems and functions and how system dynamics works. And when you start talking about one little particular tiny nut or part of it being functional, you're kind of losing the flavor of the whole. And when you look at DNA, you've got the mother cell or the zygote, and you've got the plus the environment that's in, right? And then you've got the genes, and you've got the ecosystem, and then you have a lot of noise, and that's one big function. That whole thing is a function together. And if you try to pull out one little piece of it and start talking about is it junk or is it function, I think you've missed the point. That's the only problem I would have with that.
Oh, I was thinking about this the other night. I was thinking about when Otangelo would appeal to the recipe, like a cake recipe. and I would try to argue with him about I don't think he got what I was trying to say, that the reason cakes came about was because people figured out how to make cakes. The recipes came after. A recipe is like a record of what a person did to come up with this particular thing. Kind of like kind of like fudge is an accident. Is actually, I think, a confectioner's accident. They were trying for something else, but then they ended up with this shit.
Yeah.
Champagne, another thing that obviously now has a standardized way of producing it, but that wasn't how it was supposed to. That wasn't what the monks that came up with champagne were intending. It's oh shit, we got something fizzy here, and I think that sometimes becomes an interesting topic when you're talking to these guys, especially someone like Otangelo, where they think that everything was written in a certain way by someone before they went making shit. Like when I make stuff, well, sometimes when I'm cooking, I don't follow a recipe. I
never do.
I'll just kind of do things according to like, oh, okay, maybe I'll add this or try this. And these things, after a while, you kind of get a sense of your years of eating certain things. You kind of get a sense of how things kind of go together, certain seasonings and stuff.
You don't bake much, do you?
I make
no, but I understand with baking, it becomes a little bit more precise, because if you're off in your measurements, like you use too much baking soda or you use too little baking soda, you fuck up the whole thing.
You don't really need recipes.
That explains why I'm a shitty baker. I'm really bad at baking, but I can make stews and soups and all kinds of other things.
It explains why I'm good at baking. It's because it's basically lab work, but with edibles.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, but fundamentally, when people were coming up with those things, they didn't know how to measure it. It's basically through trial and error. And then once you find out what actually you can use, then you know, okay, this is the best, like for the amount of baking soda to add to this. Like obviously you add too much salt to your candy, you're going to ruin it. A little bit of salt can accentuate the sweet, but if you add too much salt to it, then you just get too much salt and not enough sweet. Then you ruin the candy.
My mom had this recipe for pie crust, and we'd make pasties with it. And she was teaching me how to do it. And you take a half a cup of water and you have 1/8 of a teaspoon of vinegar. I'll be damned if I can remember which way it is. But if you put the vinegar in before you put the 1/8 of a teaspoon of vinegar in the cup, then put the water in. But it was one way or the other. But if you did it the other way, she would freak the fuck out. And I'm like, Mom, it doesn't make any difference. You can't even. But no, she would do it a certain way, and I'll be goddamned. Every time I tried to do her crust recipe, it would fail, but hers would succeed. So it's like, what the fuck?
Have you tried doing it in the right order?
I forgot what the order is. I can't remember, and she died about 10 years ago, so I'm fucked.
Well, try it in every possible order until you find.
Yeah, I'll try it every which way. Yeah.
But what I think would be interesting is, because this is where Jeff, I think my brother and I got sick a lot as kids is, if you have one of those recipes and it says, if meat frozen, thaw it out, and somebody goes, fuck it, I'll thaw it out in the sun.
Yeah.
No, that's not something you should probably do as the start of your meal.
Yeah.
Thawing out that particular ingredient in the sun is not a good idea.
Yeah, just because you've
not all of my aunts and my mom had to be chased down for their recipes. They never wrote down a recipe, but they would always perfectly come up with the perfect cornbread, the perfect soup or stew or casserole or what have you.
It's just from habit. Yeah, it's normally from habit, from being taught it and passed down.
Yeah, you also made a point that constrained and not unconstrained was not the same as junk and not junk, and I was schooled on that.
Conservation, not constraint. Conservation is a good test to imply whether or not something is junk, right?
But not synonymous.
Right, it's not synonymous.
Yeah.
Although, right. So we expect that most junk DNA, we expect that junk DNA will not be conserved, right? Some of it can be, right? There are conserved elements that are junk. You can cut it out, it doesn't do anything. We're not sure, it seems like, not exactly sure why it's conserved, but there they are. But you can also have things that are functional that aren't particularly conserved. But in general, there's a strong correlation. And Andrew had asked about viruses. Viruses use other host cell machinery to replicate themselves. And giant viruses are viruses. They use other cells to replicate themselves. It's just that the cells that they're using to replicate themselves are huge.
Do you happen to know where the line insertion was in evolutionary history? How many millions of years ago?
Nope.
Okay. I've been trying to find that, and apparently nobody has a good guess. There's a really wonderful story about how lines and signs evolved. And signs, as it turns out, are probably not viruses at all. They're 7SL mutants or copies that ended up stealing the power of the line to replicate themselves. So they came from a piece of our RNA, and they ended up having the right sequence so that they could go in and steal the line, which is a right virus, right? Which has its own genes for endonuclease and for reverse transcription. And so the signs were like from our genome, and they went and stole the thunder from the line and ended up creating like 1.1 million ALUs in humans. So it's a really cool story. I'd like to talk about it sometime in detail. I explained it to Scott, but I'm not sure if I did it well. Did I, Scott?
You probably fell asleep. I almost did.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thanks.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just got a shocking.
I just fucking hate you guys. Fucking hate you guys. God damn it. Okay, that's it. I'm fucking leaving.
I have an extenuating circumstance. I just got an email from from Amazon about my Prime account. Apparently it's just gone up today, $20 a year and $2 a month.
Isn't it like it went from 110 to 139 or something like that?
Yes.
And this is after they ended free 2-day shipping.
Yeah.
Oh my. We're paying for that damn spaceship.
They ended free 2-day shipping. I just had 2-day shipping, free 2-day shipping on stuff. Or is this something they're implementing?
They ended free 2-day shipping like a year ago.
Yeah,
Really?
it went up $20 a year. Damn them. Damn them evil corporations.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to use one of my other university accounts to make a new Amazon account.
Student account. Yeah.
I hadn't bothered because the price wasn't that bad, but with into free shipping and raising the prices,
I did. Yeah, every once in a while.
4 of them.
Yeah, every once in a while I'll get an offer for like a Veterans Day offer for like 50% off the year, 50% off the yearly subscription kind of thing for at least, for 1 year, not continually, but yeah, it's, I think last time I got one, they didn't act on it, but we're paying like $119.95, but a year on that. But I remember when it first started, it was on like $879.99 a year. Then it went up to $99.99 a year.
Yeah.
And when I was
that long.
But it was great because I was going to LCC. I was able to get it for like $60 a year.
So they're going to expand their same day delivery to more than 90 U.S. metropolitan areas. And
I don't even have a minor child I can sell to make up for the difference.
They're tripling the number of Amazon original series and movies. So hell, I'll pay $20 extra a year.
And probably new Stargate.
Ooh.
They're doing another Stargate?
I think Amazon now has all the rights to it, and they've got
What are you doing in there?
3 of the original cast members are interested. I think. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Anderson would be coming back, but
yeah, I don't know.
Not they wouldn't be the leads. It would.
I watched the movie, or I enjoyed the movie, but the show never really. I tried getting into the series, and it just didn't take for me.
The first season is a little rough.
Which show are you talking about?
Stargate.
SG-1.
Oh God, no! God, no! Oh God, sorry. Jesus.
You didn't like SG1?
Not a second of it, and I watched it all. Not one little minute
Okay,
of it.
if you watch 10 seasons, 12 seasons? 10
Yeah,
10
it's
seasons?
like, why would you keep watching?
I because I was being paid to.
You're a Nielsen family?
No. I was working a security. This was years ago, but it was a security job. And every week I had one 14-hour shift overnight.
Okay,
Nothing
so
to
you
do.
just chose to watch it.
I just watched those because it was the middle of the night. There was literally nothing to do for hours at a stretch. So it took me several weeks, and I would take those with me and watch them. Now as soon as that schedule changed, it was right around about I was 4 episodes from actually the last 4 episodes of the last season. I did not watch those. I never went back. I do not like that show.
So it's being pitched. It's not a done deal. So
Yeah, but there's a reason they bought the rights to everything.
So who bought the rights?
Amazon.
Amazon. Yep.
Yeah,
It'll depend on who gets. Yeah, it'll depend greatly on who gets it.
The original writers and showrunners want to do it. Several of the old cast members want to do it.
Oh God, I hope not. Oh, those guys are...
Amazon's willing to pay for it, and they bought the rights. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen.
Why didn't they just continue with The Expanse? It's a better fucking series.
Yeah, didn't they end that this season?
Yeah, that's a great show.
That was a great
Because-
show.
This is really good.
The shows are very different feel, though, right? I mean, The Expanse is a much more rigorous, hard sci-fi than Stargate. So,
Well, in Stargate, I mean, yeah, Stargate's not that, but it's also not as much fun as say, like, if you're going to talk about portal sci-fi and whipping around the galaxy, Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty's better. So Stargate's nowhere. Stargate's
Rick
lunch
and
has been
Morty's better than Stargate.
Yes, it is.
Yes, Rick and Morty is probably
Rick and
the
Morty is better sci-fi, even even if you don't like the comedy. Rick and Morty is generally better sci-fi than Stargate. Stargate is not good. Sorry, folks. Sorry, fans.
Does he still drool in every episode?
Less so in later seasons, I think, but yeah, he still does it every once in a while. It's
Okay, that's
supposed to be.
I really had a problem with that.
Alcoholics backwash. Yeah.
Now, Gurr Streams brings up Altered Carbon, and
Altered Carbon is actually
that was a great series. They could have another one because you don't need the same actor every year.
Well, I saw the first season and I enjoyed that one. The second season has Anthony Mackie in it.
It was good. It was good.
Yeah, I need to watch that one. I didn't check.
Yeah, they used Mackie.
I've never seen anything with Anthony Mackie in it that wasn't good enough to watch. It was. I've never really seen a bad movie with him in it. Even the one that he played, like an android or whatever. It's on Netflix, I think. It was still a pretty good movie. So.
Oh, we got something else here.
But I do vehemently disagree with Gurr Streams that Altered Carbon is better than The Expanse. I just don't see it that way.
I like them both, but no, Expanse is better than Altered Carbon.
I've got to read. I've got that last book in the book series for Expanse. I need to read it.
How do you guys think that new Lord of the Rings show is going to turn out for Amazon? I don't know if anybody here is actually a fan of it.
Has it actually come out or
no? Not till the fall.
I just want to know why the dwarf women don't have beards, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty clear in the lore that the dwarf women have beards. I don't know.
It's more that more Peter Jackson's ruining of the. Reimagining of it.
I suppose. Look, they could have a reason in the show where the one decided to shave for some reason. It could be. We don't know. We don't know.
Well, and that's the thing. Isn't there? Doesn't Gimli make a joke about?
It was
the woman beard in the movies. So
the comment that was made, and it's also made a few other places in all the books and writing, is that other races cannot distinguish between male and female dwarves, right? That was the comment, right?
Yeah,
Because they're
yeah.
so alike. They're so alike in appearance that it's led to the belief that there are no female dwarves, right?
Yeah,
Well-
the dwarves just pop out of holes in the ground.
Right. Yeah. And so like if they look that similar and the males have beards,
Then the females probably have beards
yeah, like just
because you can't distinguish the two of them.
right. Because otherwise it would be pretty easy to distinguish. So
But not all the dwarves had beards, though. Some of those dwarves didn't have beards.
yeah, I mean, look, that's what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah.
if they've got a like an in-show reason why, this individual dwarf
Oh, you
looks
okay?
the way she does, whatever. I don't care. I'm just like, I think it may have just been intentional, right?
Because it seemed like Strider was kind of playing along with the joke. Because when Gimli is telling her that while they're on their way to in the movie, and he's telling her that, and then she looks back at Strider, and he mouths and he goes, "It's the beards."
So who is Hugh Ross? Hugh Ross?
He, I can't. Biologos. He's one of the original members of that. He was a some sort of astronomer who
Creationist?
He's intelligent design. I think his age of the universe is older than
Yeah, he's older.
young Earth,
Yeah.
but younger than
Yep.
I just got an
Current
email from him. When you think about sharing the gospel, what comes to mind? Are you eager or afraid? Do you feel ready or unprepared? When the opportunity arises, will you take it or walk away? And then he said, that's why I'm excited to place this free ebook in your hands. And he goes on and on. I just thought it was funny.
Make sure you wash those hands before you.
My wife Kathy and I wrote this book to inspire action by sharing story after story of divine appointments in a wide variety of circumstances. I'm going to sign up for that shit.
I'm trying to set up a conversation with this guy. It goes by the channel's called Christ Righteous, and I have to thank Nicola for introducing me to this guy. Ooh.
Christ Righteous.
Yeah, he did a video talking about with those atheists, we gotta plant that seed. We gotta plant the seed of love to get them to come to Jesus Christ. He's one of those very charismatic.
Oh my God, he's never met an atheist.
And I'm like, and I asked in the comment, I think he deleted the comment, but I'm like, why does it seem like you're assuming that atheists are uninitiated in this particular religion?
Yeah.
Weird.
That's
anyway.
the thing. We know a lot. We know a lot about at least one religion.
I mean,
like them to keep their
I've met
seed to
atheists
themselves.
that weren't raised in that religion or weren't brought up in that religion, but they're still very familiar with that particular. Some of them very much more familiar with that particular religion than those who were raised in it. But at the same time, it's been very rare that I've ever met an atheist that did not at least have a good, just general kind of, notion of the concept of Christianity, right out the gate.
I'm looking at email from the creationists. Oh my God.
You should see. I tell you one thing, Speed. You get a real kick out of Speed or out of Praise's community. You ever look at his community posts?
No.
Oh man, for a guy who always talks about he gets Veckel on there, and Veckel will be like, "Yeah, I don't understand why these atheists are always talking about God. Like, why don't you just shut up?" And then Praise is like, "Yeah, it's so right. I don't get it either." And then every fucking community post that he does, just about every community post that he does, is about atheists. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude, really?
I will have to check those. I never looked at them.
I'll go take a look at the one he did about rape. That one was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah,
A
he
new
searches all over for these. Right, these things are on Twitter and people.
Reddit.
He searches the internet and finds
Yeah,
these
for memes.
stupid-ass-
Yeah.
yeah, these memes, and then he
Well,
posts them.
the one that he did with the because Dave, it sounds like you know what I'm referring to. It's got kind of like that.
Yes.
He kind of gives a little context above, and then it's got the meme, and it's got Stalin and that other guy. But anyway, that little section that's written above that little meme right there, that came from Conservapedia.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it now. Smoky Saints on there. Free Grace, Ryan the Presbyterian. I depend on God alone. Oh, he's got little memes. Okay. Yeah, I'll check it out.
You're looking at the community posts? Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, look at the rape one. That one was good.
Yeah, he talks about, he said that atheism offers no condemnation of rape. And so one of the comments that I wrote was, I agree with that, because atheism as a proposition is God or gods do not exist. Theism is the proposition God or gods do exist. Neither of those propositions condemn anything.
How long ago was this? This one?
It was just a few days ago.
Okay.
Yeah, he tries to describe it that that atheism advocates rape,
through moral passivity.
Yeah, it's just so fucking stupid. The way he
I've continued a little bit of a conversation with him. I basically trolled him a little bit with how his God doesn't stop raping.
Right, exactly.
What am I looking at? I'm looking at it. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm sorry. Son of a bitch. What did I do? There's two channels for praise. One is Ryan the Presbyterian.
Yeah.
And I haven't corrected it on my list yet. I got to take care of that. Damn it. Okay. Community. Oh, wow. That is not coming up. Okay. There is no such thing as horrific, barbaric, tragic, senseless, cruel, without God. Is that the one?
Mm-mm. No, you should. The one about rape should be right. It should be.
Atheists are advocates of rape.
That's it.
That'd be the one.
Yep. That'd be the one.
It was news to me. I was like, oh, well, I'll be damned.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't get the memo. Did you guys get the memo?
No, I
go out and give it a try, because we'll see what happens if you do.
I don't go to the monthly meetings or pay my dues.
Now we got to go door to door and say, yes, we're advocating. It's Rape Advocacy Month today, or this month. So, have you?
Yeah, I need to get a new atheist manual and then go door to door saying, "Did you know rape is okay?"
They prefer that you call it canola oil for exactly that reason.
Yeah. Branding.
No one likes the name rapeseed oil. No one.
So apparently,
the land of rape and honey.
Apparently, we're engaged in moral passivity. I didn't know this. Link. Moral passivity is equivalent to licensing rape. Is this something that's on his mind a lot? Rape?
Well,
if you're writing about it, it's on your mind.
I was going to take a cheap shot.
Every accusation is an admission.
That's pretty cool. Okay, then we got Stalin. Stalin remains as one of the most undeniable icons of atheism.
Praise will do just about anything for money. I will pay him $10 if he changes "Praise I Am," like the way he uses it, to the exact same font that Stalin's written in there. He's got to do it for a month.
Yeah. So, okay, apparently Stalin is one of our icons. I did not know this. I'm going to have to get the t-shirt.
This is what happens when you stop going to the meetings. They make changes.
Icon? Did he say icon? And I think he meant idol. An icon? Really?
He said icon of atheism. Yeah.
Okay.
Stalin remains as one of the most undeniable icons of atheism. Unfortunately, this means atheism is a blot on humanity. Oh my God. The fuck?
Yes, Stalin is an icon for atheism. And the source is Strawmanners United. Who is this group?
Oh, God. Okay, this is probably going to push me over the edge because I had enough stuff already. You shouldn't have told me about this.
It's a lot of troll bait.
Yeah. So I watched 169 episodes so far of The Office almost consecutively. And I figured it out a little while ago. Each episode is 22 minutes long, which is only 2 minutes longer than my attention span.
Oh, perfect.
So, yeah, so they're like for perfect bite size. So I think I'm going to find other series like that.
Have you watched Parks and Recreation?
Parks and Recreation is a much better show.
It is.
Really? Oh, I love The Office. I don't know.
Parks and Recreation is much better. And
The Good Place.
The Good Place is better than The Office as well.
Oh, The Good Place is excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I
Prey,
did not watch the last season. Damn it. I need to finish that.
to change the subject just a little bit, if you can hear me. Can y'all hear
No.
me? I've lost my tabs.
No. Can't hear you.
No, we can't hear you at all.
No.
Apparently,
No.
Craze did a whole video on Jefferson Spatchcock's strange obsession with Darth Dawkins.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, wow. It's like I was staring at this name and I was going, I know that guy. Oh, it's this fella right here, Jefferson Spatchcock.
Is that the
You're
one
the
where it's got a
stranger?
photo of me in my robe and it's got like what looks like a corpse's penis hanging out of my mouth?
No. This one just has like a generic Darth Vader, Darth Dawkins looking kind of
Oh yeah, that's an old one. Yeah, that's one of the
Yeah.
older ones. Yep.
5 months ago.
Yeah, he changed the one. He changed the one that he did on the two of us about us being walking fecal bags. He turned it into he made it into walking colostomy bags.
Oh,
Better.
He still implies though in the video that colostomy bags are somehow attached to one's anus.
That would kind of defeat the purpose. Jesus Christ. That's
that
called a
dingbat.
diaper.
I said your shit bag is not exactly the same thing.
Bread of Life is a wolf in sheep's clothing. That was a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 weeks ago.
Isn't Bread of Life Rebecca?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Rebecca.
Yeah, she
she's
doesn't
not.
strike-
She's not your particularly standard evangelical.
No.
They go ham on her sometimes. My God,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
what the
liberal. That's liberal Christian. Liberal ways. Oh, fucking.
Started to sound like that sound clip of Darth Dawkins that's been getting popular.
The one about him and his dog.
Actually, I did find something. Jeff just reminded me. There's something that Smokey Saint says about Jeff and me in one of Jill's last videos. I got to use that as a clip, as like an ending title.
Ooh, yeah. Have you told me this already, or?
No, I got to find it so I can show it to you. But
Yeah, please do.
That fucking thing is over like 3.5 hours long, so I got to scroll through and try to find it again.
Yeah, that's a lot to scrub through. I'm gonna get going, guys. I'm gonna be setting up. I'm gonna go live with one. I'm gonna cover a couple of J. Robin things, I think, tonight.
Okay.
So
Sounds great.
Oh,
Yeah.
are you going to do the J. Robin and the one from Clubhouse debates?
I'm
Wait,
gonna.
is that is Robin the guy who how do I put this? How do I describe his relationship to Darth?
He's attached at the butt.
At the
There's
mouth.
If you Google Batman and
his
Robin
mouth.
on Seesaw, that's probably the relationship. It's a really awkward drawing that was done. Actual comic book drawing. It's a really strange thing, but Batman and Robin on Seesaw. That's J. Robin and Darth Dawkins together. Not to compare Darth Dawkins to Batman in a favorable way, but the photo's awkward.
Okay. I think we're going to shoot her in the head, guys.
All right.
It's come to that time. So what were we joking about that Andrew called me on? I'm not sure. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, I'm going to shoot it in the head. My voice really needs a rest. So let's see. Where the hell is the right? Oh, what am I doing?
Thanks for having me on, Speed. See you guys later.
Jefferson,
Yeah, thanks
always
for
great.
stopping in.
Thank you,
Okay.
Jefferson.
I'll see you over at your channel.
Okay.
Okay. Goodbye, cruel world.
Take
Goodbye,
care.
world.
Yeah, goodbye, world.